right, dudes, it's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blanford.
I'm Larry Sellers, Pat Sellers.
And I'm Simon Blanford.
And we wish it was the 90s. Well, dudes, it is great to have you back. We've just all watched The Big Lebowski, sans Sean. Sean is off having a baby, potentially, at this time. So it's just Pat and Simon with me. We are here to talk about the cult classic, The Big Lebowski. And I've watched it a number of times, and again, watching it this week, new things popped out for me. I think I laughed out loud more than I ever have. So we're going to first start with our memories of The Big Lebowski, and maybe when we first watched it, compared to this rewatch or subsequent rewatches that we've had. And we'll start with Simon. How'd you find, or what was your first memory of The Big Lebowski? Start with that.
My first memory of The Big Lebowski was studying it in Year 12 Media Studies. I don't really understand why we studied it in Year 12 Media Studies.
Mr. Mitchell?
No, Miss Newton. Had very little to do with the study of the media. It was mainly, I remember looking intensely at the sort of dream sequences, but thoroughly enjoying it as a kid. Didn't understand, I wasn't a kid, 16, 17, but loved the film, and just, as you said, just laughed the whole time through this viewing. It was just a fantastic experience. Watched it with Zara, who really enjoyed it as well. I liken it to a bit of a Wes Anderson experience in the sense that, off air, Pat, you alluded to the fact that plot is not really the thing that matters.
No.
Who's Wes Anderson?
Wes Anderson is Royal Tenenbaums and Darjeeling Limited, Royal Budapest Hotel, etc.
Oh, yeah.
And this film is very similar to that. I think the plot matters a little bit more than those films, but it's certainly not the reason you really like it. And yeah, the one thing I did pick up this time around was literally in the opening minute of the film where
I got the same.
I'm not sure if it's going to be the same thing, but maybe it is. Maybe it is, with the tumbleweed rolling and the voiceover.
Oh, no.
So the voiceover kicks in, and he says that I want to tell you about a fellow by the name of Jeff Lebowski. At least that was the handle his loving parents gave him, but he never had much use for it himself. This Lebowski, he called himself the Dude. And I hadn't read The Great Gatsby at this point. But I teach the Great Gatsby now, and I'll just read you a bit of that.
Oh, is that before or after? Sometimes there's a man.
That is before, literally the first paragraph of it. So he says that basically that Jeffrey Lebowski was known as that, but he sort of rejected that name and just calls himself the Dude. And he does that explicitly to the Big Lebowski, right? The quote-unquote rich Lebowski.
Yeah.
And in The Great Gatsby, James Gatz, that was really, or at least legally his name, he had changed at the age of 17. And he goes on to say, I suppose he'd had the name ready for a long time, even then. His parents were shiftless and unsuccessful farm people. His imagination never really accepted them as his parents at all. So I just found that really interesting, those parallels. It's called The Big Lebowski, and The Great Gatsby is obviously called The Great Gatsby, so there's some parallels there. And I never thought of it. I looked it up on the internet, and no one has said anything about it. So I think I'm completely on the wrong track. But it is interesting because that whole book is about Jay Gatsby striving for this American dream, which is actually kind of impossible to achieve. And the dude is just the complete opposite. He's just given up and realizes that it's a bit of a sham. So yeah, I that was one thing I picked up. And hit us up in the comments whether you a big Gatsby fan as well and thought there were similarities.
My what I picked up from the opening sequence was not that interesting. Pat, what about your kind of first memory of Lebowski and subsequent ones since?
First off, on your rewatch, were you just talking about Los Angeles all the time?
Nah, mine's
Well,
different.
yeah.
And it's definitely
Okay.
something that everyone will have noticed, I reckon.
So we all picked up or chuckled at something pretty funny at our rewatch. This came out in 1998. I cannot remember the first time I watched it, but I would assume it was on Sky Movies back in the day where Sky Movies was one channel when you didn't have Sky Movies Greats and the other 13 channels. But I remember it with our lost mate for this weekend, Bob. He's off having a baby. We were planning a trip around Europe, and we were going to Iceland, and there was a Big Lebowski bar down the road from there. And we were both like, "Oh, I love that movie. I haven't seen it in years." And then rewatched it about half a dozen times before that trip. And I reckon just alluding back to, the plot play doesn't matter, but you just get engrossed in all those characters and all the quotes. Like rewatching it again this week with my partner who's never watched it was pretty interesting. But I was like, I actually can't really remember the plot. I remember heaps of the scenes. I remember heaps of the quotes. But I was like, oh yeah, how do they end up at that other place? And I was like, so I was actually just engrossed in the film again, which almost kind of gets you.
Interesting that all of our significant others had never watched it and then all watched it for the first time with us. Phil was the same, not this time, but a previous time. First time I was ever privy to The Big Lebowski was, I believe, probably, Simon, you would have been about 7th form, so you would have, or it might have been the year that you watched it for media studies, but you and a couple of other of you, like I remember Nicola and Amani being there randomly, and I just like walked into the room after school when you guys were all watching The Big Lebowski and cracking up. And I remember watching it for about 15 minutes, and I was like so confused. And then a few years later, I watched it for the first time. So even though wish it was the 90s, I definitely did not watch it in the 90s. Then I watched it a few years later, and still I enjoyed it, but I didn't laugh out loud at it. And then I think probably the second time I watched it, I really, really enjoyed it. Watched it with someone who'd watched it before, and I had other friends. I think that was part of it for me. I had some close friends who really, really liked it, and so kind of sharing quotes with them and things that we really enjoyed about it was the best part of it for me. Again, the plot is not important, but I still enjoy the plot. It's kind of a crazy plot on purpose, I think, but that the Coens did there. Got a white Ruski, by the way. Very important to the plot.
It is really different in that way. Like it is a movie that you want to share and enjoy. Like, and that's what's given it so much legs in the long run. Like, there's been semi take the piss cults come out of this, and you go through YouTube. There's a million different theories on what it's really about, what's really happening. Is Donnie real? Is a big one that seems to be all over YouTube.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, which it's kind of like it'd be possible, but I think it would suck if he was part of. The theory is that he's part of Walt's sort of PTSD from the war. But
did he go to Vietnam? Did he?
Yeah, maybe. I think it comes up once, and yeah, but I reckon that would suck because the big part of that is obviously Donnie's last scene is even though he's been told to shut the fuck up the entire film, is he's actually Walt's like best mate apart from the dude probably.
Yeah, he loves him. What's the Big Lebowski bar like?
Yeah, not as much Big Lebowski about it as we thought. It was just named Big Lebowski, and they had like 12 different types of White Russians. I don't know if they were maybe not allowed to like display some memorabilia because they probably weren't licensed to be like a Big Lebowski bar, but I don't know. It was quite a good bar, but it was just a bar. We had higher hopes, let's just say that.
It'd be one way. It'd be one way to crush your love of a film, wouldn't it be? Just to begin working at a bar that was themed to the film you love. You know, you just all of a sudden just take the film after 2 weeks of working there. It's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the thing that most people like about it is the characters. Some in particular that are impressive. And we're going to do a much beloved thing here on We Wish It Was the 90s, a character draft. So one thing that, harking back to the 90s, when I was young, when we used to go to the movies, like I'd go like at a birthday party or something, there'd be 6 of us sitting down at the movies.
Hoyt's 5.
Hoyt's with a sticky floor, and there'd be ads. So before the trailers, there would be ads, and we would play the ad game. So it'd start at one end, and whatever ad came on, you got that ad. So if it was the confectionery bar, and you got the confectionery bar, you were, and that was a good one to get. If it was like an advert about like Windex, then you got Windex.
You never wanted to get Black Gates, Meek and Dong. always the dud.
For those international listeners, that's an optometrist here in the Hutt Valley. So we are going to do a character draft, and who you draft is the character that you get. So basically just a way of us discussing the characters, but we're going to do a snake draft. Pat, do you know what a snake draft is?
Yep. So we're going to go. You get the first and last pick, or the second, and here we go.
Great. It took 10 minutes to explain to Sean, and then he still didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, I heard he had a couple of really controversial picks, and just really not understanding how the draft worked. Where he ended up his last character, he was a bit gutted or something.
No understanding at all.
So having said that, I feel there's a clear dud pick, but I want to hear it from you guys. Pat, what pick don't you want?
Out of the how mainstream are we going here with our characters?
Are you allowed to?
I don't have one main character on my list.
So we're going to do 2 rounds. So basically, you're going to get 2 characters each, and then we'll have a few honourable mentions at the end. So you're going to get 1st and 6th pick, 2nd and 5th pick, and then 3rd and 4th pick. So you get the bang bang pick in the middle there. I know what one I don't want.
You're allowed to pick the dude. You're allowed to pick the dude.
You can. Yep, every character that appeared on the show.
You can't, because I get the first pick.
Well, I'm about to pull the names from a hat.
Oh, you were talking to me when you said you.
For those picks. No, but what pick, or maybe Simon, you might have an idea what one you don't want.
Yeah, I don't want 3.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go. I've got the 3 bits of paper here. And I
thought you meant like what character don't you want to end up with?
Oh, nah, more what pick, right, because
okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
I think there's an MVP of the show, of the movie, which we'll discuss shortly. So I've got my 3 bits of paper here, and the first pick goes to Pat. And the second pick goes to Sam. Unlucky, Simon. You've got 3rd and 4th.
Very disappointing.
So you've got a bit of time to think. But Pat,
not too bad. There's more than 6 mint characters in this movie anyway.
Exactly. That's why 1's the best pick, right? Because you can just, you're happy with your 6th pick anyway. That's why it's a great pick.
Pat, Number one pick. Who do you select?
Based on your conversation before, I actually think that you would pick Walt as number one, which makes me want to take it. I'm going to go with the dude. It's all the dude.
Fair enough.
I agree. I do agree.
And what's your thoughts on picking the dude over Walter?
Walt's an absolute nutcase, and the dude. Everyone loves the dude, even throughout the movie. You've got what's it? Brand.
Yeah.
I had to look up what Philip Seymour Hoffman's character was called because I was like, I actually haven't heard his name. Or I haven't.
That's the good thing about Amazon
I can't.
Prime. If you watch it on Amazon Prime, which we all did, we all use Pat's account.
Let's keep that quiet.
If you pause it,
I bought it. I bought it on Google Play.
Did you?
Well, for the purpose of this podcast, I did.
When you pause it, it comes up with whatever characters are in that scene and who plays
it
them.
gives you facts and shit, eh?
Yeah, and also if there's like a song, it has who sings the song and what the song's name is. I thought it was fantastic.
Bob Dylan, Man and Me. I didn't recognise that as a 17-year-old.
What a tune. Anyway, Pat, sorry, carry on.
What was I saying? Philip Seymour. I really enjoy how Philip Seymour Hoffman's character instantly loves the dude. He's working for the guy that hates him, and he's straight on board with calling him the dude from the get-go. And I mean, there's a reason that this film's had legs in it. It's all the characters, but namely the dude, and that's why there's a bit of a take the piss cult around the dude. And he actually wrote a book, Jeff Bridges, kind of as the dude with some Zen master, about being Zen or something.
Oh, really?
But it's straight off the bat, like one of the first scenes is when he's getting his head thrown into the toilet bowl twice. And he's like, where's the money? He's like, it might be down there. Give me one more look. It's like straight off the bat, you're like, you're on board with this guy. This is outstanding. You just couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, the thing that I was just going back to what I was talking about in the opening sequence, which I forgot to talk about. But it's like your introduction to the dude. He's like scuffing around the supermarket in his jellies. And then when he gets to the counter, I'd never realized this before. You've probably seen it every single time. But he looks at the TV, and it's, I don't even know which president it is.
H.W. Bush.
And he's like, this will not stand, this aggression. And then that's the same line. And I'd never even realized that.
I didn't actually pick that up until you... I didn't notice that ever until you said.
Yeah, and then he reuses the line on Lebowski later.
Yeah. I was using that line on my daughter all weekend. Aggression will not stand.
You have absolutely mugged yourself off going with the dude at number one there. Because Walter is the clear MVP of this movie.
Where's the Walter cult? Show us your cult.
I think the first time I watched it, I didn't like him. But John Goodman, it's actually his birthday in a couple of days, I believe, 22nd of June.
Happy birthday.
He is just fantastic. He holds your attention every single scene. Some outstanding quotes, which we'll get to very shortly. His back and forth with Donnie. He creates the character that's Donnie, basically.
Oh, he's speaking over top of him most of the time.
Yeah. Which maybe Donnie isn't real. And he drives the plot. Like, dude, without Walter, he wouldn't have gone on any type of goose chase. The dude would have just gotten high and stayed at home. But Walter was driving the plot, throwing out his ringer undies, getting them into all sorts of mischief. And every scene that I really, really enjoy, he's in. So I'll scoop up Walter with the second pick.
He probably gets the biggest lols throughout the film. And yeah, you're right. Like I think the dude even mentions at some point when they're back having a beer at the bowling club, I think, and he's like, if it wasn't for you, I'd just be here with a piss stained mat, piss stained rug. See something like that. It's like, everything has actually happened because I'm not Walter, which is great for us, the viewer.
And he's a great mate. He is a great mate. As much as it doesn't seem like it, he bloody loves Donnie and he bloody loves the dude. He drives him on Shabbos,
He does do that.
He's some great mates in this, but we'll get to that.
I would not agree that he's a great mate, but that's fine.
Simon, yours, please.
He is a great mate.
So as soon as I got number 3 pick, I was pretty devastated because there is a clear top 2. Not to besmirch the good names of any of the other fantastic characters in this film. So I'm going a little bit off the board, but not hugely. I think this is a universally beloved character, and it's Brant.
Yeah. I was hoping he stayed till 5.
I was saying to Zara during the watch, yet another testament to the genius of Philip Seymour Hoffman. I think how well he plays that character. As he had alluded to before, just calling him the dude. His line about Bunny Lebowski, we're all very fond of her. As he's sort of straightening his tie, is a great line. Just the entire Brant experience, I loved him getting antsy about the dude looking at pictures and sort of touching portraits.
The dude was like enamored by that one thing he just kept rubbing,
Tiptoeing around the fact when the dude was just saying if Jeffrey Lebowski was disabled. How uncomfortable he was, anticipating that question from the dude. Yeah, everything about Brant's performance was outstanding. So for that reason, I'm picking him 3rd.
He's got all that going on where he's like kind of awkward, but he's also like whips him at the same time. He's trying to be his mate, but he's super awkward about just his entire presence. So good. Yeah, that's a fair call. That's a
wonderful woman. We're all very fond of her.
Doesn't he? Pretty sure as well. Just going to when he brings the dude back to introduce him to the hostage scam, basically, although he doesn't know it's a scam at the time. When he opens the door into that room with a fire, and the real Jeffrey, the rich Jeffrey Lebowski, and he sort of like bows as he opens the door. Just his mannerisms as well as the script, because obviously the script is wonderful, but he makes everything his own. It's fantastic performance.
The scene where they meet up in the limo, and the dude's like, "There's a lot of new shit that's come to light." and he's basically just anything that the Jeffrey Lebowski says, he just like repeats. That's a real good.
But with a smile.
It's a great scene. It is. Yeah, that is a great scene as well. So yes, I think I'm very happy with the Brant to pick at 3.
As you should be. What about number 4?
Oh man, I got absolutely no idea. Right? Absolutely no idea. So tossing up between 2 characters, because I don't really want to choose Donnie. He's there.
No one does.
But I'm not really going to choose him. And I'm reluctant to... people will accuse me, all 3 people who listen to this, of being too cute with this pick. But I'm going to do it because I'm not comfortable with anything else. So I don't even know the character's name.
Jesus.
So the person I am drafting, who I don't even know the name of, at number 4, is Maud's mate.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. Shit, what is played by what that guy off can't remember who he plays on Harry Potter.
I know nothing about Maud's mate is just that one scene he is in, he just absolutely knocks it out of the park.
He is weird as fuck.
He is so strange, and That him and Maud, I just love him and Maud. I just absolutely love that relationship. I love the piss take of whatever Maud pretends to be. How she's such a hypocrite. She says, "Oh, it's all mother's money. Her father just runs the trust and not very well." And here she is, just living off her mother as well, doing this terrible experimental art and clearly not doing anything of value. I love Maud and her mate, but her mate is just hilarious. So I stuck with him.
Yeah, for the record,
Great selections.
on my list of characters, I have underneath Maud, Laughing Man.
I didn't put him in. I'm gutted that I didn't. He's not on my list.
Shoot, so I got a tough choice here, because I think I've got to go with someone here. Actually, as a character, I think I'm a little bit underwhelmed by. Well, I was initially. I've come around on him. My good friend Ollie Sullivan absolutely loves him, and he's very, very well played. Is Jesus. Not in the movie as much as I remembered. I think he's only in like.
I thought that as well. I was like,
don't love the pick. Don't love the pick.
I think he's only in like 2 scenes, maybe 3 scenes.
Yeah.
But I actually Jesus's mate I quite like as well. The guy with the mo.
Yeah, definitely good.
I've got Jesus's mate with a mo on my list as well.
That'd be Liam.
No, I think I really like. I think I'm picking Jesus because, again, Walter carries it, but the scenes that he's in with Walter are just outstanding, and it's
his intro.
Well,
Hotel California, that version of Hotel California.
It is great.
He's back, like you're because you haven't seen him in ages, and you're like, oh, the Jesus.
12-year-olds, dude.
I think it's 8. Yeah, I forgot about that. So for a bit, I was like, "Oh, well, I forgot about that backstory that he exposed himself to an 8-year-old and went away." And then you're like,
8-year-old.
Oh, wait, Walt said it, so it's probably bullshit. So you have like 1 second where you're like, "Oh, fuck, I don't like the Jesus anymore." Oh, wait, yeah, it's probably bullshit.
No, I can't quite put my finger on it. Like, he's such an outrageous character, much like Walter. But I can't pass up taking him there at number 5 and just taking it to the bank. Walter and Jesus as my 2 picks. I've won the ad game.
Interesting going those 2 together though, because you picking Walt even though you're like the guy's full of shit and his stories bullshit. Or do you really like him and you would be on board? And then you've also picked Jesus because there's probably a few more questions to be asked there.
Very fair questions, Pat. Very fair questions.
Abhorrent humans, but fantastic characters. I've won the ad game already, so it doesn't really matter who you pick here, Pat, but give us your best shot.
With Si's lead-in for his second pick, I thought he was going to take him. And I was confident no one would take him. And he's actually came up as well. I'm going to go with Liam, who's Jesus' bowling mate. Because if you're talking about any players / characters that are great mates, Liam's got the Jesus' back all day.
That's great, cool.
And I love that guy. And he comes. I didn't realize he shows up real early in like the first opening scene at the bowling alley, and he's got a bit of technique. I don't know if he's an actual bowler because he doesn't have any lines.
I just wrote that down actually, Pat, because that is one of the great montages. That the zoom in on his pot belly as he's bowling it, is just it's a thing of beauty. Sorry, keep going about Liam.
Yeah, I like especially when he's firing up at them. I'm pretty sure it's about when Walt's refused to bowl on said day, so they have to move it, and then Jesus is having a go at him, and Liam's like trying to hold him back with one arm, but also like puffing his chest out a little bit at the same time. Yeah, Yeah, he's probably he's got to be my favourite obscure character, and there's a few to go through there.
I was worried. I was worried for you, Pat, because I thought you said Liam, and you were mistaking Larry, the kid that stole the car, for Liam.
No, I remember Larry. I can't remember his last name.
This is going to be an embarrassing moment, but you've nailed it. Well done.
That would be on form for me.
So some big name characters got left out there.
Donnie would be the first one to mention. No one wanted Donnie. I didn't want Donnie. I had 9 names written down, and Donnie's not on there.
Fantastically played by Steve Buscemi.
He is.
Just an aside, does Walter get called Walt at any point in the movie, or is Pat just going off piste there?
Pat's just giving himself the nickname, I think.
To be fair, I've written notes. So I was doing shorthand.
No, shorthand. There you go.
So some characters that obviously Donnie was left out. Jeffrey Lebowski, Maud, the Stranger.
Who's the stranger?
Sam Elliott, the narrator.
Sometimes there's a man.
What a character!
Yeah,
what a narration!
Fantastic.
Bunny. 2 of my favorites, which I probably would have picked one of them if I had the 6th pick, is Marty.
Who's Marty?
Is what do you call him? The dude goes to his show. He's like,
the landlord.
That's the word I was looking for. The landlord.
Oh, yeah, that guy's good.
He died this year. The landlord just died in real life.
Oh no! All right.
Jack Keller. Apparently, he is best known for that exact role. And I love that bit where he's like, "Dude, tomorrow is already the 10th." And the dude's like, "Far out."
Slides a rant under my door.
I love that bit. And one of my other favorites is the cop when the dude asks him for the briefcase when his car's all beat up at the yard. And he just cracking up. Yeah, they got us working in shifts.
Yeah, that's a good bit.
Is that one of the 2 cops that sit down at his place, or the one later that beats him up?
Later. No, the one who he's at like that car yard where he finally picks up his car after it's been stolen. He's a sort of Hispanic cop. He's just laughing.
Yeah, okay. There's a lot of good. All the cops are pretty good in this.
That like over friendly white cop who goes to the dude's house. Real funny.
Yeah, and his partner's just like playing with all of his like fucking kakariki utensils. Like,
yeah,
why have you told us to come to your house? Like, there's drugs everywhere.
The black cop's
looking at him.
He's not having any of it. He's just can't believe they're even wasting their time, and the white cop's still trying to pretend to be civil. It's a very, very good scene.
Yeah, that's
and good. There's a stay out of Malibu, Lebowski.
Yeah, that guy's a nutcase. It's good.
Throws that mug at him.
Yeah.
And the private investigator's good too.
He's great.
The one scene he's in.
So is the limo driver.
Oh yeah, he's being his mate, and then he like gets him in that armbar to put him in the other one.
That's a separate. That's the driver who.
So that isn't the same driver that's talking to him all the way, and he's
so he gets out of the car and then he's immediately grabbed by the driver of Brant and Jeffrey Lebowski. Okay. That's the way I saw it, at least. But
I reckon he was in on it though.
He may have been on it, yeah. But that's a great scene where he talks about his rash. All these horrible things going on, and then he's like, "But I can't complain," and they'll laugh. And I think it's a bit of a.
The dude's having a great time in the back of that limo. What he's talking about, it's like, it started out the day pretty rough. He looks hammered as well.
I think it's a real old comedy joke. So Rodney Dangerfield did that joke heaps, but he said instead of saying "I can't complain," he'd always say, "I get no respect." So I didn't notice that. Maybe it's not, but anyway, great scene, great limo driver.
We didn't
I
mention.
missed a couple of the early ones that you had. Had you had Uli, the main one of the nihilists?
No
Nihilists.
nihilists. I've not mentioned any nihilists.
Yeah, that guy. That guy is. He was on my list. I almost picked him as my last pick. He's good. Yeah, so weird. And then who are the nihilists is like him? There's the guy that looks like Stephen Merchant, and then Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Hey,
All right, we're going to look at some quotes now, and just to recap on that draft. So, Simon, you ended up your 2 picks. Oh, sorry, Pat, your 2 picks were the Dude, and then who was your last one again?
Liam. Me and Liam are gonna fuck you up.
I went with Walt and Jesus, and Simon, you went with Brant and Laughing Man.
Brant.
Ward's mate.
Maud's mate. We did Laughing Man / Maud's mate. Okay, good.
So there are some fantastic quotes in The Big Lebowski. We're going to try and just do our 3 favorite. So Simon's going to do one, Pat's going to do one, and I'll do one. And then we can do some honorable mentions of ones that we really enjoyed as well. So without further ado, I think I know what one you're going to say, Simon. It's one that we often will say to each other.
No, I'll leave that one for you.
Might not be my number one. But Simon, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I mean the film's fairly over-quoted, so we know all the good ones. So I tried to go off the board a little bit. This is one I didn't really remember that well. It's after the marmot comes into the dude's bath, and Walter goes on this real long rant, like doesn't really know what he's talking about, and he's saying how that keeping wildlife and amphibious rodent for domestic, within the city, that ain't legal either. And the dude says, "What are you, an effing park ranger now?" I just thought it was real funny because I didn't really remember it, and I just had that one. Thought that was a great line.
That is a bizarre scene in the bath.
That would be my worst nightmare, having something like that in a enclosed space with me.
What is the animal? I just thought it was a ferret, but what they could say a marmot.
I thought a marmot was like a type of thing. I thought a marmot was like this, like a few things came under the marmot umbrella. Like I thought, like a ferret or a weasel. I thought they were marmots, but I could be completely wrong with that. Simon will be right.
Gotcha.
He's an encyclopedia.
So who's next?
Pat's next. I'll go last.
I've already used my my top pick. Well, that was This Aggression Won't Stand, Man, which I'm using around the house. And I was really trying to think of quotes that I'm going to just start putting in my back pocket. So I've used that one on air so far. And earlier today, which is having a bit of a melt, was "You're entering a world of pain." Because Walt says that all the time.
Yeah, that's a great.
Entering a world of pain. Quite like that. It's just a good one to put in your back pocket for when anyone's annoying you.
There's so many. I thought you were going to do the toe, Simon.
I know you thought I was going to do the toe.
You want a toe? I'll get you a toe.
I gave you a toe by 3:00.
He like mime snipping a toe with his fingers as well. I think the thing that I lolled the hardest on was when they're playing Smokey and Walter/Walt turns up late with the Pomeranian, and the dude is like, "Why did you bring me some?" "What do you mean bought it bowling? I didn't rent it shoes. I'm not buying it a fucking beer. It's not taking your turn, dude.
Yeah, that was such a good bit.
I absolutely lost my shit at that. That makes that whole that Walter is just amazing in that scene.
Yeah,
yeah. That's when he pulls out the gun at that point, doesn't he?
yeah.
Smokey, this is not Nam. It's bowling. There are rules. We'll just go around the table. Any other? I've got heaps, but Simon, any quotes?
Yeah. So the other one I wanted to point out that's non-Walter was in the aforementioned car ride with Brant and the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Where dude says that we dropped off the money and I was like, what? The royal we? You know, the editorial.
Yeah, that's good.
Loved that bullshitting line that he gives. It's fantastic.
Pat?
Another one from the back pocket would be, it don't matter to Jesus. He's many a times, but I really like the closer from the stranger. His whole monologue at the end is when he's sitting at the bar in the Timber bowling place. It's pretty outstanding. It's good knowing he's out there, the dude, taking it easy for all us sinners.
Take it easy, dude. I know you will. I got heaps. Also, dude, Chinaman is not the preferred nomenclature. Asian American, please.
That's a great one. That's so good, that one.
And one that I don't think I laughed at the first time, but I found hilarious this time is when they go to Larry's house and Walter and the dude walk in and Walter's like, and a good day to you, sir.
So good.
To the writer, I can't even remember what the guy's name is who's in the chamber. Fucking great. All right, we probably
there's the obvious memes as well. I'm glad we left off, but everyone knows them as well.
Well, that's just your opinion, man. So we'll go to scenes now, and this might be a way to squeeze in another quote, but we'll go with Pat first. Your favorite scene overall?
I changed mine somewhat last minute because I was listening to an interview semi recently with the three big ones, the dude, Walter, and Johnny. And I didn't realize, maybe I saw it at some point, but they did a whole bunch of second takes for a whole bunch of scenes so that it could air on TV. And so they obviously just so they censored it. So they're just changing what they were saying. And they obviously just took the piss out of having to be censored. So there's obviously that scene where Walter's smashing up what he thinks is Larry Sellers' new car. And so he's out there yelling, you see what happens? You see what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass? And it's for the TV edit. They change it to, you see what happens. You see what happens when it's either fight or find a stranger in the Alps. Knowing that will forever be my favorite scene.
Oh man, that's awesome.
That whole scene is great.
It's a wonderful scene. It was definitely on my list. I've already mentioned the bowling alley montage, really just because it's a bit niche but underrated. The pot-bellied bowler, as I said, I loved. So I'm not even going to say a scene. I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to put a moment that I loved, and it was the hard-ass Malibu police officer finding out that the only ID that the dude has is a Ralph Value club card. So I thought that was just a top moment. The scenes are all great, but that one often gets lost in the mix. So I'll put that out there.
Yeah, for me, that's I really enjoyed that as well. After that, Jeffrey, when they go to Larry's house, uh, and you hear the dude's like, "No, Walter, it did not look like Larry was going to crack."
That's a great comment.
No, the bit that I like, there's obviously some just amazing scenes which I could mention here, but the scene that I really like is he's obviously in a great mood, and there's that song like do 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 riding out my back door, and he's like banging the roof of his beat up car. He's just got the car back, and he's smoking I'm pretty sure it's a roach, but it's a very small J if it's not a roach. And he drops the roach into his lap, and it's like burns this thing. He crashes the car, and then that's where he discovers the homework. And I think that's the best part of the whole scene is he like pulls the paper out and it cuts to his face, and he's like taking his sunnies off, and his eyes are like go real wide, and he's like completely, and it keeps cutting between his eyes and the bit of homework.
It's a brilliant bit technically as well. So to nail that is pretty impressive.
That was originally my top scene. That's the one I swapped out last minute.
Oh, real?
It was going to do that. He also lets out some real funny squeals when he's getting burnt by his roach.
Yeah, very funny squeals. Marmot-esque squeals.
Yeah.
I would have been gutted if you had taken that one.
Yeah, worked out.
But I love the smoky over the line. I love the whole Larry sequence. You Want a Toe and the Jesus intro are just, they're all fucking fantastic.
Donnie's heart attack's good in the sense that, like, especially because Walt can like be an arsehole and he's so full of shit, but obviously like really cares about him. And it's, like that's what a lot of these movies are about. Is like you can picture a lot of your mates and stuff in there, and everyone's got a Walter in their group of mates. And if you think you don't have a Walter in your group of mates, you're probably the Walter.
I forgot that scene that he throws the ashes and it goes back in the
Yeah, that's good.
From the Folgers bin.
That's the kind of the only time Walter sort of drops his facade when he realizes how pissed off the dude is with him.
Yeah.
In that moment, he kind of just hangs his head.
Now, this is something that Pat threw out there, which I'm quite intrigued by, and we're gonna look at recasting the Big Lebowski. Controversial.
Terrible idea.
Terrible idea to remake the movie, but it'll be fun for the purposes of this.
And I feel like I'm going to hand this over to you, Pat, because I have watched probably one movie in about 6 years in terms of new release movies in about 6 years. So I don't really know any actors and actresses apart from.
I might not know anyone on my list.
But I'll hand the recasting over to you.
All right, recasting. For those out there that have gone to the cinemas this decade,
why is it a terrible idea, Simon? Why is it a terrible idea? First,
well, yeah.
They shouldn't remake the movie.
First of all, yeah, and also I was kind of thinking, they did such a great job. Why would you ever recast it? And I also just misinterpreted what it meant in the sense that I thought you're recasting actors that could have been better.
Oh no.
And I just
can't think
of anybody
they absolutely nailed it
better in the roles. So we're doing a 2020 recast. Is that correct?
Yeah. For a reboot, yeah, reboot or remake, whatever.
Same.
Obviously Sam probably hasn't seen it, but one of the biggest movies come out in recent years was Avengers Endgame, and Chris Hemsworth plays Thor, and he plays a fat version of Thor who's often referred to as Lebowski Thor, and he nails it. He absolutely nails it. And I would I mean, I wouldn't really want them to remake it, but if they did, he'd be a great dude.
Dude.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Lebowski.
When you said fat, I thought Walter straight away.
He's just that he's obviously like normally shredded, so he's just drinking. Or, he's also carrying a beer around all the time and stuff. Anyway, Walter. This is what actually made me think of this, is because I was watching this time round just after having seen the Righteous Gemstones recently. I've just picked up from season 1 and watched them all. If you haven't seen it, outstanding. Also stars the original Walter, John Goodman. And he's brilliant in it. And I would have Walter as Danny McBride. I actually looked it up, and Danny McBride was in his early 20s when this came out. And I reckon Danny McBride's probably played every role, or maybe at least 90% of the roles he's got as Walter. He's so spot on.
Furiously Googling Danny McBride.
Yeah, if you can
you'll know who he is.
Yeah, I do know who he is now that I've looked him up.
Yeah, especially like off like Hot Rod and stuff like that. Like he's pretty spot on.
If you just said the guy from Eastbound and Down, then sweet.
Kenny Powers. Yeah. Donnie, I was tossing up between Michael Cera and if you haven't seen Righteous Gemstones, there's a guy Tony Cavallero who plays Keith on that. He would be brilliant in that role, but that's not really that fun.
Michael Cera, I do like that.
Yeah, so that's Jimmy's role. He could probably just play himself again.
He looks exactly the same as he did then.
As the Big Lebowski, the rich Lebowski, I was trying to come up just like an iconic comedian / actor, and someone I reckon it would just revel in yelling at Chris Hemsworth, the dude, is Bill Murray. I reckon he'd go well. The Jesus was next on my list. It was a bit of a toss up. I almost had a bit of loyalty in there for Taika, but I ended up with Sacha Baron Cohen. He'd have to play it.
Oh yeah, that's an obvious one.
Bunny is Paris Hilton.
What is this? 2003?
Oh yeah. Well, if it's going to be a remake, that would still be set in the early 90s. And I'm going to skip over a few of them because they're not that interesting. But I'd have The Stranger, played by Kevin Costner, who is playing both John Dutton and The Stranger at the same time, to be the iconic cowboy of our time.
Okay, there's some good ones actually. I enjoyed that more than I thought, mainly because I didn't really understand what you meant. So
it's kind of like what.
After I said this, well, the Walt. I just keep thinking that it's Michael's son off Lost. Every time I say the word Walt. I've got. After saying this is a terrible idea, I've actually got a few. Can I chuck a few at you?
Go for it, please.
So Walter, bit left field. I think Seth Rogen could do a good job as Walter. Be gruff enough. He could wear the bandana quite well. So Seth Rogen for that. Donnie, I loved that Michael Cera call. That was fantastic. The other possibility is Nick Kroll for.
Yeah, he'd be good.
Comedian, also off The League. And speaking of The League, Paul Scheer, Scheer, who's also on Veep. Paul Scheer, Scheer.
Yep.
Would do a great Brent. I think he would be a brilliant, awkward Brent.
It's a tough recast, that one.
Different body type entirely, but just that he could do that awkward, sycophantic thing really well, I think. Yeah,
you could imagine him like really enjoying the dude, but being awkward about it. He'd be outstanding at that.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
That's off the cuff. I didn't plan it for that, so that's all I got. But I'm happy with those.
That was great.
I wanted to recast the main nihilist guy, but I couldn't. I couldn't go past. All right, that's the guy that I was like, nah. like you can't recast him. You could just put him back in the same, especially because he's in a minor role.
Yeah.
But then I was looking up that Peter Stormare, I think his name is. This year he had the Big Lebowski come out, and he's also got his famous line of Russian components, American components. It's all made in Taiwan. Same year, Armageddon, and with Steve Buscemi. So they were hanging out all year.
Wow.
We always seem to bring up Armageddon on this podcast.
Yeah, should we just like leave it sitting out there? Like we'll never do a podcast about it, but we'll bring it up every week.
All right, I've got a few questions, just a couple. Probably quite easy to answer, but Pat, does it hold up?
Absolutely. I think, like, because at least looking at like critical response at the time, like it definitely wasn't very positive in terms of how big it is now. And I reckon it would almost be like a bigger movie probably today. Like it kind of seems like that, or maybe not today, maybe we'd go back 5 or so years and it's, like a Pineapple Express type vibe that, you're just loving these characters being absolute lunatics. But it 100% holds up. It's, if anything, better every time. I think part of it's the plot doesn't matter, and so you actually kind of forget if you don't watch it for 2 years, you can't really remember the plot. You just know that you love the characters and get to enjoy it all again.
Simon?
Yes, it does. I don't think we need to dwell on that. It clearly does, and it's better than ever.
Do you guys, you spoke about critical acclaim. Does anyone know the awards that it did win? Because I know it didn't win any Academy Awards. Did it win anything?
It did. These are I'm not going to go over every single specific award that it won, but some of the organisations were the Association of Polish Filmmakers Critics Awards, the Dallas Fort Worth Film Critics Association Awards,
Jesus,
and the Awards Circuit Community Awards, which has to just be made up.
Wow.
The Awards Circuit Community Awards. How can you have the word award twice in your title? And the Italian National Syndicate of Film Journalists. So it was a big critical success, as you can tell.
Well, this would have been the start of the internet. They might have just put awards in their name twice so they'd come up on the search engines.
Come up on Ask Jeeves.
So it came out in, was it, I think, March in 1998. Would that mean it would be a part of the 98 Academy Awards or the 99 Academy Awards?
98.
No, the Academy Awards don't matter.
98.
I think the only thing that it possibly could have won would have been Best Supporting Actor.
You can't give that film awards.
Of course you can. Walter's performance is genius. John Goodman's performance of Walter.
It's a comedy.
Everyone knows it. They used to teach it in high schools.
Hey, it's a good segue into my next question. You spoke about the dream scenes. Like, what is there like that? Especially the hallucination when Jackie spikes his white Ruski. Like, can you remember back to your year? Have you got your year 12 media studies notes in front of you?
Hang on a minute. No, I just think, as I said earlier, I think it was just an excuse for the teacher to show it, really, and it showed some really. It was just a very different type of film. It's beautifully shot. I still think it's very creative in the way that it's shot. I guess that would be the reason she showed it, perhaps. But it's a very fair question, and I don't know.
Surely she just liked the movie.
Oh, for sure.
I did pick up on that interview that made me switch my favourite scene. When they filmed one of those dream sequences, when he's floating underneath all those women's legs, it just happened to be the day that he decided to bring his family to the set to see him work. And then he was on a skateboard, like getting pushed under all these women's legs wide open. He was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
I've got nothing else. You guys, anything else to share, or anything you thought we needed to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I think we wrapped this up pretty well.
All right.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Great experience, and I'll watch it again in a couple of years, no doubt, and enjoy it just as much.
Absolutely. If you haven't ever seen it before, you do have to see it. It is something else. And if you haven't seen it in 2 years, watch it again. You won't remember the plot, and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I think certain people like it, and certain people I don't think really enjoy it, and they'll watch it one time, think it's okay, and never watch it again. But I think a second watch is very imperative, especially if you haven't watched it in a while. So, Saturday, Donnie, is Shabbos, the Jewish day of rest. That means I don't work, I don't drive a car, I don't fucking ride in a car, I don't handle money, I don't turn on an oven, and I sure as shit don't fucking podcast!